WOL Washington, WPRS HD2 Waldorf, WKYS HD2 Washington, WMNJ HD2 Bethesda, a Radio 1 station, and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
It's now time to take care of our heroes. You're tuned into Heal America Radio with your host, Terrence Daly.
And we are back like every Friday on Heal America Radio, where we heal America and the families one veteran at a time. And I am that veteran, Terrence Daly, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. It's a nice day outside. It's about 80 degrees, and it looks like we're going to have a full day of sunlight. So make sure you get out there, have a good time, enjoy your family, enjoy your friends. Enjoy the time that you have with the sun out, because guess what? Winter's going to come before we know it. Global warming is here. And I have two special guests on the radio with me today, both Marines, both heroes. And if you can, just introduce yourself a little bit.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Brian Nygaard. I'm a marketing and public affairs rep for Marine Corps Recruiting Station, Baltimore.
All right. And we have...
My name is Staff Sergeant Adam McDermott. I am a recruiter for the Recruiting Station, Baltimore.
Okay, all right, so you guys are a team.
Yes.
All right. I appreciate you coming on the show. We know that you're currently serving active duty as a Marine, and what is that like in 2015?
Well, just given our area, you have two major metropolitan areas. You got Baltimore and you got D.C., and we also cover Eastern Shore and Delaware. So you've got a lot of diversity out there. A lot of people come from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different creeds, different neighborhoods, different farmlands, and things like that. So it is challenging at times, but the Marine Corps, we're always good at finding that diamond in the rough and finding the young men and women who want to be one of the few and the proud.
All right, that's excellent, and they're still coming and trickling in with these numbers, I'm sure.
Oh yes, absolutely.
All right, that's good. They're committing to do something that is for progress for their life, whether they're going to college or serving the military. They're doing something to get a step ahead. So we commend those that are attempting to join our military services. And so, give us a little bit about you growing up, and so the audience can know who you are and where you're from. And
well, I grew up in Ocala, Florida, which. It's north central Florida area, a lot of cows, a lot of horses, a lot of farmland and everything. It's very rural, or at least it was when I left there. But I graduated high school, went to college. I changed my major a couple times, and after a while, I was putting in several different loans and stuff like that, and it just wasn't working out. Had to drop out, and I took a long look in the mirror, and I said, something needs to change. I need something different in my life. I need to go in a better direction, because up until then I was headed in a direction, but I didn't have much direction, not a lot of guidance, if you know what I mean. So a friend of mine who he actually graduated college, the year I was supposed to. He joined the Marine Corps, and he's like, hey, he was waiting to go to boot camp. He's like, hey, Brian, you want to check this out? I was like, yeah, sure. So, set up an appointment with a recruiter, and that was, going on 7 years ago, and here I am.
7 strong years. All right, my next guest, give us a little bit about you.
This is Staff Sergeant McDermott. I'm a Maryland boy. I grew up on the Eastern Shore. For those of you who don't know, Kent Island, which is right in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay. I grew up crabbing, fishing, and from a very young age, my parents like to make us work for the money, or for our money, and so I developed a incredibly hard work ethic. And once I graduated high school, trying to figure out what else to do with that work ethic I developed, I decided to join the Marine Corps and get away and experience some of the rest of the country, the rest of the world.
Wow. So this is you joining the military is definitely the plus in you guys' life.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
All right, we definitely want to get that message out there. You listening out there, hey, we have Marines recruits here today. And make sure you contact them if you want to get involved or you want to trial and error and see if this is something for you. This is definitely a good opportunity. But listening today, we'll have some more news coming up. And as we progress forward, we're going to go to the Good News Network. And as I do every week, I read a passage from somebody great, and that has resonated in me and affected me in a positive way. And with my intent, do the same thing for you. And this was written by a guy named William Penn. Those historians out there, I don't know if you remember this guy. He wrote this in 1693. It reads, "A true friend advises justly, assists readily, adventures boldly, takes all patiently, defends courageously, and continues a friend unchangeably. And I'll read it one more time. A true friend advises justly, assists readily, adventures boldly, takes all patiently, defends courageously, and continues a friend unchangeably. And this guy, William Penn, has just a little bit to do with our American history here. He was born October 14th, 1644, in London, in the UK. He died July 30th, 1718. He was an English real estate entrepreneur, philosopher, early Quaker, and founder of the province of Pennsylvania, which is now the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, i.e. he had a little bit to do with our history. This reminds me of the kind of system that we had in the military when I was in the Army, and I'm sure that the Marines have their own form of this, the battle buddy system. And I remember getting off of that, what was it, a truck moving, a cow moving piece of equipment that we were in standing up, and they lined us up with a bunch of other cadets, those that are trying to join the military in basic training, and they said, hey, this person is your battle buddy. And instantly you were in a relationship with this guy or girl. Now, it was gender specific, so guys had guys and women had women. That way they could be with each other all the time. So this person was attached to you by leg and foot and by arm consistently. If they got in trouble, you got in trouble. And the battle buddy system was created to create cohesion inside of the platoon. Not necessarily with who's in charge, but who is suffering with you. That's the mindset, to build cohesion. And through that, it will spread through the platoon. And I remember I had this guy named Pabon. We've all had those battle buddies that just could not get right. And this guy Pabon, we were in basic, and he had a girlfriend on the other side. And this guy would constantly at night sneak out to go see his girlfriend and wouldn't tell me about it, so I could tell him not to do it. But I get woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning having to go see the boss, going to see the commander, and mopping floors because of this guy. So this reminds me of the battle buddy system. It may be painful, but it does work. So is there a battle buddy system that is in the Marines that you know of?
Yes.
Is it called battle buddy?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, you're never alone wherever you're at, and everyone's always accountable to one another. So yeah, there is that system in place.
Is it a larger element, or is it a specific one guy or one girl?
Well, there's always like an NCO that's over all junior Marines, and there's someone that's obviously over that NCO. And regardless of where you go, what you're doing, whether it's like you put it up on a chalkboard or a blackboard or something like that, or just even telling someone, like, everyone knows where you're at, and you're always like, someone is always accountable for you. So, yeah, like that situation right there, like if I have like a lone young Lance Corporal that's going to be going home on the weekend or this, that, the other, it's like, hey, I need your phone number. I need to know when you're going to be at a certain place, and just a rough sketch of like what you got going on that weekend. That way, if I ever need to get a hold of you, if you're ever in any trouble, we can easily communicate.
Just a little bit further than that. Now, I was a platoon sergeant. I had 157 soldiers.
Wow.
Literally in my platoon. And what I would make them do, I would make them attached with one person for the weekend. Do you do that also? Like, you have to stay with this person. I don't care if this person gets in trouble, both of you are going to get it.
You see a lot of that going on. I mean, it's more, I think, like, depending on where you're at and what unit it is, it is very informal. But especially accession Marines that are like coming out of boot camp, going to MCT, Marine Combat Train or School of Infantry, or even their MOS school. That's always the case.
Okay, all right, yeah. Accountability is key.
Yeah, they always have a buddy with them.
Yeah, you lose a soldier, it's a problem. Everything gets shut down. So the platoon structure for Marines, I've always been curious. Now, we have our platoon sergeant, our squad leaders, and our team leaders, and the soldiers on the side. So there's usually, for every 4 soldiers, there's 1 team leader and a squad leader for the whole. Is it the same way, the structure?
I'd say so. I mean, the fire team is like the basic working element of the Marine Corps. It's about 5 Marines, and so many fire teams make up a squad. So many squads will then make up a platoon, and obviously the platoons, companies, battalions, and so on and so forth. But it's pretty much basic, the same structure.
Yeah, pretty much synonymous. I'm pretty sure the Air Force does the same thing, and we'll have them on in a few weeks as well. And we're definitely going to have you guys back later on at a later date if you'll be willing to.
Absolutely.
All right, and we're gonna keep pushing forward. This is coming from the offthegridnews.com. Police apparently seized $63,530 from $30,000 from a veteran because it was in grocery bags. Now, I initially read this story, and I was thinking, okay, well, what are they doing to my good old veterans out here? And then I read it a little further, and they actually took mercy on this guy. This guy's name was Mark Brewer. He was allegedly driving to Los Angeles to visit his uncle. In transition from Texas, he was stopped due to changing lanes without using a turning signal, and allegedly there was marijuana smelled in the car. So the cop said, "Hey, is it okay? Well, is it okay if I search your car?" If he said no, then he would probably search it anyway, just because he has the probable cause. But still, the car was searched, and the policeman found $63,530 in the trunk of this veteran's car, stacked up in bundles of thousands. And the veteran was telling him that he was using it for a down payment on the house, and that was his plan. He was going to buy a car when he got to Los Angeles, live with his uncle, and use it for a down payment on the house. This was seized from him because it was seen as being trafficking drugs, using the money to do so because it was bundled in such a way. And they took the money and they let him go. So big ups to law enforcement for taking mercy on this guy out here. Veterans, we have to make sure that we are doing the right things all the time. We have to do what we have to do to survive, and I'm a firm believer of that. I'm a survivalist myself. But we have to make sure we make the right decisions for our families and for our future. And also, we have more responsibility than that. We have the perception of the United States looking at us. We don't ever get out of that public figure. Once you've served, once you've been to Iraq, once you've said, I've done this, and you've actually done it, that comes with responsibility. So we have to make sure we make the right decisions for our future and for the example that we're trying to set. And we continue to move forward in a positive direction. This guy's name was Brewer. He served as an Air Force weapons specialist in the military and as a military policeman. He was medically discharged with PTSD. I myself have PTSD, 80% PTSD. You would not know it walking up to me, but there are things I deal with myself. And I take, in the past, I have not always taken the best approach on it, but now as I work forward to improve myself, I pay attention to the different triggers that might cause me to do something that is not of good faith. So in the spirit of that, pay attention to your triggers so that you do not make the wrong decisions based on the right intentions, and that things like this do not happen. And again, thank you, law enforcement, for taking a deeper look into this individual and realizing that he has a little bit extra than the average citizen out there. He's not a criminal trying to go out there and sell pounds and pounds of whatever he had or whatever he was trying to obtain. He's just somebody trying to survive, and he made a mistake. So now he has a chance to reset, as the song says on our introduction. So everybody needs that chance. Judging someone, I'm definitely not judging this guy. Like I said, I'm no better than him, no better than you across the sound waves from me. You're all my brothers and my sisters, and we have to remember that people do things in survival mode, and at times it might not be the right thing. But thank goodness they took mercy on this guy. I know the situation sounds crazy, but has any of your soldiers ever did anything that was just so monumentous you couldn't believe they did it, but it was unintentional because of their character?
2 minutes. I'd say I can't really point to like too many incidents. Like I've been fortunate enough to serve with a lot of guys and ladies that were, for the most part, on top of their game. But yeah, there's been some times where you just kind of like scratch your head and say, buddy, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Mostly with like relationships that they have, back at home and things like that. But yeah, there's been a few times where it's just like, you've had to take someone aside, and I'm sure Staff Sergeant McDermott can attest to this. Usually someone who's not a peer, it's someone that's a subordinate, much younger, that's coming straight out of high school, like they're out on their own, they have some cash in their pocket and everything, and sometimes they just do some things that, just don't make any sense, and it's really just their youth speaking.
Yeah, the inexperience and the drive to want to do something. I gotta be out there. I gotta make something happen right now, and I'm not waiting any later. So you had to reel him in?
Well, I know this one time there was a young Marine that he was driving on a base with his friend, buddy system. They were coming back from a movie, and he didn't have his military ID on him. Without the ID, you can't get onto that military installation. So his buddy, who didn't have a license, decided to drive for him while he hid in the trunk of the vehicle. And so they get on. One person there, they didn't check the license at the gate. They checked the ID. But the kid didn't know how to drive, so he got pulled over. No license. He heard a banging on the trunk, asking if they were back at the barracks. Police officer pops the trunk, and there you go. Got to deal with that.
Wow. Now that is a story there, but we're going to be right back after we take a commercial break on Heal America Radio, where we heal America and their families one veteran at a time. We'll be right back with you. Stay with us.
WOL.
WOL Traffic Update is brought to you by the Ad Council. Jammed outer loop of the Beltway, Prince George's County. 2 separate accidents. One just before 202. One in the backups north of Central Avenue. Have both been moved from the roadway, but the damage is done. Coming up from Andrews, I'm talking from Route 4 on the outer loop, jammed to that activity on the left shoulders. Downtown, we're jammed. 17th Street, along the mall, along the GW Parkway, 395. Everybody looking at the World War II flyover. Very crowded. Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them 30 seconds. And be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov. Forecast, we will see sunshine. Daytime high is 85. Overnight, some fog, partly cloudy with a low of 67. Tomorrow, chance of showers and thunderstorms with the highs in the middle 80s. Stand by. Bism speaks in the Ad Council. As a parent, you can't help but dream about what the future holds for your child, but consider this. The odds that your child will be diagnosed with autism, 1 in 68. In 5. TismSpeaks.org, Beverly Farmer. News Talk 1450, WOLAM, where information is power.
And we are back on Heal America Radio Show, where we heal America and their families one veteran at a time. And there is a promotional going on. If you go to www.combatboots2redbottoms.com, and you can also look it up on Facebook, Combat Boots to Red Bottoms with the number 2. And you can purchase from there. There are shirts on sale with the brand of Combat Boots to Red Bottoms, starred by Letitia Holmes and B&L Specialties. Contact them at 301-776-8645. I say again, 301-776-8645. Shout out to you, Letitia, out there. God bless you. All right, so we're going to get back to this. And I have two guests with me. If you can announce yourself just one more time so the audience can get back familiar with you.
I'm Sergeant Brian Nygaard.
Staff Sergeant Adam McDermott.
All right, and it's a pleasure to have you on here with me. We've been telling some great stories about things going on with soldiers. We have more stories to tell you. We're just gonna get right to it. So, what about this the story you was telling me about?
Okay, well, Terrence, back when I was in Afghanistan, I was in Afghanistan from 2011 to 2012, and my job, like in a nutshell for the Marine Corps, is photojournalist. All right, go out there, take photos, write stories, shoot footage and everything of soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen on the front lines. And many times we would be with our British counterparts, our brothers and sisters in the UK, showing how we're improving life in Afghanistan, improving the infrastructure, doing security operations, training the Afghans, things like that. Well, I had one Marine, his name's Dan, and he's out now. He's going to school down at University of Alabama.
Shout out to Dan.
Yep, shout out to Dan. He was out with I think a British unit one time, and a lot of times when we go out with these units, we're inserting with them, and these are like infantry units, combat units that are pulling security operations and stuff. And a lot of times when we insert with them, they just see a camera guy, and they're just like, oh, hey, well, you're going to carry more ammo, carry more water, more chow, more things like that. And a lot of times they tell us like, hey, we're going to be coming up on this position. It could be a hairy situation, so just be on guard. Well, they were handing out grenades to everybody, and they handed one to Dan, and Dan put it in one of his pouches that he had on his flak jacket. Well, once everything was done and over with, Dan comes back on an Osprey, comes back on to Camp Leatherneck, and he's in the office and everything, and he's going through his flak jacket, and he's like, oh, hey guys, I still have a live grenade on me. And it's like, Dan, let's just come over here real quick. Let's take care of that.
Yeah, let's talk this out. Let's go ahead and make this get this out the way, so we don't have to worry about this anymore.
Does it still have the pin in it?
Yeah, that's a good thing. Oh, that's crazy, Dan. Hey, if you're out there, hey, good job in school. Stay away from grenades. All right, so we're gonna move forward, and I looked up some information on the Marines and some historical information, and it was established November 10th, 1775, in Philadelphia's Tun Tavern. So I looked into the Tun Tavern. Tun Tavern, excuse me, I apologize. Thank God you're here. Yeah. So I looked up the Tun Tavern, and it is a historical bar that implemented so many things from our history and our country. The sole proprietor, the proprietor and his son, Robert Mullen, were commissioned by act of Congress to raise the first 2 battalions of Marines under the leadership of Captain Samuel Nicholas. And this was monumentous when I read this, and I looked at all the history from this location. And when Marines come in, do they get that story of how it was established, and we're going to go there and put one back, and
Oh yeah. Although we don't supply beer, especially to any minors and anything like that. But no, that's roughly what happened. It was like the first recruiting office was right there in Philadelphia, Tun Tavern in a bar, and Mullen was really the first Marine Corps recruiter. So that's we make sure that all of our recruits, guys that we have in delayed entry program, as well as when they go down to Parris Island, go through recruit training, that they're very well established, very well read into all of our history. So basically, every Marine that you ever meet will be like a walking history book in terms of the history of the Marine Corps.
That is so important. Culture is so important. Culture is what this generation is missing on a massive scale. Everybody wants to know what's new, wants to be the new person and the new ingenuity out there, the what's hot, the 10,000 photo picture guy or woman, and the Instagram or the what's that thing where you hold up and it clicks it from far away?
The selfie stick?
Yeah, the selfie stick. Everybody wants to be the selfie sticker. It's important to understand where you come from so you can understand where you're going.
Absolutely.
And culture needs to be embedded in everything that we do. The Army has similar things, especially when we go to the board. I'm sure you guys have a board also.
Absolutely.
And you have to learn the history. You have to know it by heart. You have to know the different psalms and the different regulations and specified to take care of the ones that you're going to be responsible for once you get into those leadership positions. So it is important to learn your culture. If you're listening out there, make sure your children understand where they're coming from, understand their history, who mom and dad and grandfather and grandmother was, and if they were Americans to start with, or they came across from another country like all of us have at some point or time. But to understand their culture helps them understand themselves, which will bring more self-esteem. And this passive-aggressive approach on everything hopefully will phase away in the next 30 to 50 years. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So that's a little bit of Marines information as far as history is concerned. And we're going to go to the Independent. The city of Chicago will pay $5.5 million in compensation to dozens of people who were tortured during the 1970s and the 1980s. This was a decision put in place by policy by the Chicago City Council on Wednesday, And I'm just thinking about what's going on across the United States as of right now with police brutality, with the rioting, and the two not coming together for progressing as it should be as of yet. There's still sides and barriers, and there's not that hardline conversation. Okay, I did this. Get over it, because we're Americans and we're about forward progress, and we have never dealt in emotional limitations before in the past. It's been a business thing as far as America is concerned. We get past what we need to in order to progress as the leading force across the world. And so what are your thoughts on what's going on in our communities, what's going on with our policing, the irresponsibility on both sides, as far as the police force brutality and also the rioting going on? And what's the next step? I've looked and paid attention to a lot of reporters speaking on it, and there's nobody giving that next step to where we need to go besides, okay, I am going to brutalize you in your neighborhoods, and I'm going to destroy my neighborhood because of it. What's the next step?
Well, Terrence, you hit on what is certainly a relevant issue within recruiting station Baltimore, our area of operations, because
You're right
Baltimore
there in the fire.
City, we're right there in the middle of it.
Where was your station in any of those locations?
No, we actually, to be honest, we have offices that are in Towson and in Mondawmin, right there at the mall.
Yes,
completely untouched. We were fortunate; nothing happened. And to be honest, when you look at it from the media's perspective, it makes it seem like all of Baltimore is on fire, when in reality, majority of Baltimore was peacefully protesting for the case of Freddie Gray, and there was like a small minority of them that were getting out of hand and rioting, and destroying property and things like that. But for the most part, it's very peaceful, and as it should be. That's their First Amendment right to practice as they please, is to protest peacefully. They do have freedom of speech and everything like that. But it's a crazy time that's certainly within our country. There's a lot of crazy divisive issues. I think we're seeing a lot of polarization all across the country. But people naturally have that sense of justice within them, and that's something the Marine Corps prides itself on. In fact, it's one of our leadership principles is justice. That we hold people accountable for what they do, not only the wrong things they do, but also we recognize the good things that they do. And that's something that we have always held to in the Marine Corps, is that honor, courage, commitment. That's our core values. That's our ethos. So we want to conduct ourselves with honor, and we will hold people accountable anyone accountable that strays away from something like that. But we actually have kids that are from the Baltimore area that have enlisted in the Marine Corps, that they want to, that's what they want to do with their life. And regardless of where these kids are coming from, you could come from a not so nice section of Baltimore, or you could be coming from where Stats Sergeant McDermott is coming from, Kent Island, crabbing community, pretty quiet, peaceful, farming community. Regardless of who you are, we take an individual one at a time. We do not see color, race, creed, or religion or everything. All we see is, a potential Marine. And that's what we're wanting you to be. We want you to buy into honor, courage, commitment. That we still want you to be you. You are still an individual, but you are buying into the Marine Corps', principles, the values, our leadership traits, what we put forth, so that we can be. We're that brotherhood. That's sisterhood is some people might want to call it, but we are to be a first-rate elite fighting force that's there for any crisis or contingency that our nation needs us to be at. We're that 911 force. So that's basically our message, our way forward for a lot of people. The country right now, obviously, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things that have to be sorted out. But when you do come to the Marine Corps, that isn't there. That divisiveness, that clash that you see there. We work out. We do have our issues like anyone else, but we are a big family, and we do work them out.
Yeah, because you guys instill a sense of pride.
Yes.
Which takes care of that passive aggressiveness. Yeah. And you were speaking on accountability, and that is so important. A lot of times we always want to hold somebody accountable for something, and I find myself doing that sometimes. But the most important person that has to be held accountable is yourself for accountable things that you have done. Once you take full ownership of your shortcomings and how you might not fit the bill, you don't have time to worry about anybody else. So accountability of oneself is an important thing when you look at the police officers that might have made a mistake and understand this is a mistake. They're not out there maliciously trying to kill young individuals in underserved communities. That's not what they're trying to do. Because if so, they would have killed a whole lot more, and have been a lot more malicious. Now, I'm not saying that it was not terrible what has been done, because a life has been lost. And we can't look at it as a number, but it is a person that lost their life. And many times somebody lose their life is very tragic. But we have to remember to be accountable for our actions once we have a responsibility of knowing things. Some those that know information can react. They have that ability too, because they're in that ignorance is bliss stage, and they just have to get that feeling out. But others have to bear that beast, have to bear that pain, the feeling that you feel, and get past how you feel about it personally and go to the next level. Because if we don't focus on getting to that next step, we're never going to get there, i.e. solutions, a systematic approach at this. As you were saying, we are polarized. It seems like as global warming gets worse, as California runs out of water in 10 years, we're becoming more polarized. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's the degree of separation, the reality of different realities is just not existent. It's not important anymore to know how someone else is living right next to you. And that's crazy. As I catch the metro, that's the one place I don't like to catch, but I do just to stay grounded in myself. I do to stay grounded in myself. So as we close this up, I want to give you guys the opportunity to say a few things in addition to what we've already spoke about. If you have anything, like I said, we definitely appreciate you being on back on here again. So Absolutely. If you can, please close us out.
Well, Just right now, despite all the polarization and everything, like we're looking for the best and the brightest right now. We're looking for males and females, 18 to 28 years of age. 30 seconds. And serving their country within the capacity of the Marine Corps that are wanting to not only see a difference in themselves, but also make that difference somewhere in the world. Like we have Marines forward deployed all across the globe right now. We have Marines that are in Nepal that are helping with the earthquake relief efforts. With the same equipment and gear that we use to take the fight to the enemy. People, but if you want to be a part of that, by all means, call 1-800-Marines, marines.com. We can have a recruiter get in touch with you.
All right, and that is it. Hey, welcome. Every time that you come here, you're welcome to speak about what you want to. Call in, and we'll respond back to you about issues going on with veterans today and tomorrow. Heal America Radio Show. We heal America one veteran at a time. All right, bye.